Kody and Robyn Brown's obsession with David Yurman jewelry continues. In the world of reality television, where appearances often clash with the deeper complexities of personal relationships and hidden financial truths, very few couples spark as much scrutiny and fascination as Kody and Robyn Brown. From their high-profile presence on TLC's long-running series Sister Wives to the undercurrents of controversy that often swirl around them, Kody and Robyn have become synonymous with emotional upheaval, lavish choices, and an unshakable bond that seems to thrive in the face of chaos. Yet amid all the shifting dynamics, failed marriages, and family fractures, one detail continues to catch the attention of both longtime fans and curious observers alike: their growing obsession with David Yurman jewelry. This particular fascination with the high-end luxury brand is not new, nor is it subtle. Over the years, Kody and Robyn have consistently displayed an affinity for the label's intricate designs, timeless metals, and hefty price tags. Whether it's a birthday surprise, a Mother's Day gesture, or simply a casual show of affection, David Yurman pieces seem to occupy an almost sacred space in their relationship. And as other wives distance themselves emotionally and physically from Kody, the presence of this jewelry line in his life, almost always connected to Robyn, took on an even more symbolic weight. What began as a pattern of luxury gift-giving gradually transformed into a reflection of emotional favoritism and financial power, and now fans believe it represents something deeper: a desire for control, validation, and permanence in an increasingly fragmented family. When viewers first noticed Kody purchasing an expensive David Yurman ring for Robyn, it raised eyebrows. It wasn't just about the brand, it was about the timing. The moment came at a point when tensions with his other wives, particularly Christine and Yanel, were escalating. The family was struggling to maintain cohesion, the dream of shared land at Coyote Pass was losing clarity, and many of the adult children were expressing discontent with how things were being managed. In that climate, spending thousands on a designer ring wasn't merely a gesture of love, it was a declaration of priorities. And as time passed, that declaration became louder and more frequent. In later seasons, it became apparent that David Yurman was more than just a brand to Robyn. It was a comfort, a reward, a display of Kody's commitment at a time when his emotional investment in his other marriages was waning. She wore the pieces proudly, often paired with matching sets, and sometimes even flaunted them in moments of tension. On screen, these accessories weren't the focal point, but they didn't go unnoticed. Fans who've been watching the show for over a decade began connecting the dots. Every time there was a family fracture, there seemed to be a shiny new Yurman necklace or ring gracing Robyn's appearance soon after. Was it coincidence, compensation, or celebration? No one could say for sure, but the optics were undeniable. Off-screen, the obsession deepened. Robyn has been spotted wearing pieces that retail for upwards of $4,000, sometimes several items at once. These are not simple, subtle tokens of love. David Yurman's distinctive style, with its signature cable design, paved diamonds, and bold gemstone settings, speaks of opulence. It's a status symbol, especially when collected so publicly. In the face of mounting criticism over financial transparency and emotional manipulation, Kody and Robyn's choice to continue indulging in such luxury hasn't gone unnoticed. Financially, this indulgence strikes a nerve with viewers and critics alike. Many recall Kody's repeated complaints about the family's budget being stretched thin, particularly when it came to building on Coyote Pass. There were episodes where he fretted over mortgage payments, construction delays, and even struggled with purchasing simple gifts for the children. Yet somehow, there always seemed to be room in the budget for a bracelet or ring from David Yurman. This contrast became fuel for fan frustration, feeding the narrative that Robyn was the favored wife not just emotionally but economically. And while Robyn has often claimed to hate being labeled the favorite, her unbothered relationship with material excess continues to paint a different picture. For Robyn, jewelry has always held significance. In earlier seasons, she often mentioned how gifts helped her feel secure and cherished, especially after dealing with struggles in her previous marriage. Kody, who seemed to understand this emotional connection, leaned into it hard. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with gift-giving in a marriage, the pattern becomes problematic when it's done in the shadow of abandonment. Christine, Mary, and Yanel, all of whom expressed feeling dismissed, unheard, or unloved, were watching from the sidelines as Kody and Robyn's relationship became more insulated and privileged. What were once symbols of love slowly began to represent exclusion. The obsession isn't just about jewelry, it's about identity. Robyn has always appeared more aligned with monogamy despite entering a plural marriage. Her dynamic with Kody, especially as the other marriages disintegrated, began resembling a traditional couple more than a polygamous family. The exclusivity of David Yim jewelry, expensive, rare, individualized, mirrors the exclusivity of her emotional relationship with Kody. It's as if each piece was another brick in the fortress they were building around themselves. And fans, watching from the outside, have started to interpret each new necklace or bracelet as a message. This is what love looks like. This is what devotion buys. Beyond the jewelry itself lies a cultural undercurrent. Sister Wives began as an exploration of polygamy, a belief system rooted in spiritual and communal values. The original draw of the show was the idea that love could be shared, and that sacrifice was essential to the lifestyle. But as time wore on and Robyn's influence grew, that original mission faded. The show became less about unity and more about hierarchy. And in that hierarchy, jewelry became a marker of ascendancy. When Robyn walks into a scene led in silver, diamonds, and precious stones, she isn't just making a fashion statement, she's reinforcing her status as the wife who remains. It's not surprising then that David Yim has become a buzzword among Sister Wives fans. Entire Reddit threads are devoted to cataloging Robyn's collection. Viewers speculate about prices, discuss which episodes featured which pieces, and use screenshots to track the evolution of the couple's taste. Some have gone so far as to suggest that Robyn and Kody's spending on jewelry could have funded part of the Coyote Pass development, or even helped Mary open another B&B. While those claims are speculative, they illustrate just how tightly jewelry has become woven into the show's mythology. Even as the show's ratings fluctuate and the Brown family fractures, the jewelry remains. It's a constant presence. It glimmers in moments of confrontation, sparkles during interviews, and flashes with every dramatic confession. And unlike homes, cars, or investments which can change hands or be lost to time, jewelry is lasting. It's intimate. Permanent. In a family dynamic where everything seems to be in flux, perhaps that's why Kody and Robyn cling to it. Because if their relationships are unraveling and their future uncertain, the jewelry becomes proof that at least one bond is unbreakable. As of the latest reports, Kody and Robyn continue to embrace their love of luxury. Recent sightings of Robyn in Flagstaff revealed new additions to her collection, including what appears to be a custom David Yim ring that hasn't yet been identified in the brand's official catalog. Fans believe it may have been specially ordered, a bold move that only adds fuel to the fire of speculation. Meanwhile, Kody has doubled down on his defense of their relationship, claiming in interviews that people just don't understand what we've been through. Perhaps that's true. But what people do understand is symbolism. And every glittering piece on Robyn's hands is or neck tells a story. In the end, the obsession with David Yim jewelry isn't just about style. It's about power. It's about love. It's about the psychology of favoritism, the optics of exclusivity, and the slow, sparkling unraveling of a plural family that once promised equality. Kody and Robyn may not see it that way. For them, perhaps it's just about expressing affection, honoring milestones, or treating themselves during hard times. But for fans who have watched the heartbreak unfold in real time, it's impossible to separate the diamonds from the drama. As the saga of Sister Wives continues and new revelations emerge about family tensions, property disputes, and shifting alliances, one thing remains clear: Robyn's jewelry box will always be full. And each new piece will speak louder than any confession, interview, or tearful goodbye. Because in the world of reality television, where everything is up for interpretation, nothing says "I'm the one he chose" quite like a David Yim ring. The cracks in the foundation of the Brown family, once seemingly cemented by faith, commitment, and plural love, have now become canyons, deep, wide, and full of unresolved financial grievances. For years, fans of Sister Wives have watched the polygamist patriarch Kody Brown juggle 4 marriages, 17 children, and a self-styled empire built on shared dreams and land. But as the dust settles in the aftermath of multiple divorces and emotional upheaval, another betrayal rises to the surface: the mismanagement of the Coyote Pass payout. And this time, it's not just about hearts broken. It's about money mismanaged, assets unjustly distributed, and two wives, Yanel and Mary, ultimately getting the short end of the stick. The Coyote Pass property in Flagstaff, Arizona was meant to symbolize a new chapter for the Brown family. Purchased in 2018, the land, nearly 12 acres, was supposed to be the site where each wife would eventually build her own home. It was hailed as the foundation of their new unity, a permanent homestead for the large and often chaotic family. Kody had promised that this land would represent equality for all the wives and their children. Yet, behind the scenes, the dream was already beginning to crumble. At the time of the purchase, each wife contributed differently based on what they could afford. Some had more resources, others had to rely on profits from the show or side businesses. While the family always claimed that their finances were shared, viewers increasingly suspected that Robyn, the fourth wife and Kody's legal spouse, was receiving preferential treatment. Now, as the family structure lies in shambles and 3 of the 4 wives have walked away from their marriages, new revelations suggest that the payout of Coyote Pass has been a chaotic and deeply unfair process. It's more than a property dispute. It's the unraveling of trust and the exposure of financial manipulation at the core of a once tight-knit unit. When Christine left the marriage in 2021, she made a bold and independent move. She sold her Arizona home and relocated to Utah. Interestingly, she made sure to walk away with money in hand. She had invested wisely, pulled herself out of the shared entanglements just in time, and was able to start a new chapter with financial security. While her emotional journey was difficult, she made a clean financial break. That was not the case for the other wives. Yanel, who had been one of the most pragmatic and financially savvy wives in the plural arrangement, was particularly invested in the Coyote Pass dream. She had no home of her own after selling her Las Vegas house. Instead, she lived in an RV on the property for months, fully committing herself to the vision of building there. She gave her time, energy, and money, trusting that it would all be worth it. But when her relationship with Kody deteriorated, the financial fallout was brutal. Yanel didn't walk away with a house to sell like Christine or even a clear payout from the land. Instead, she found herself entangled in paperwork and confusion, with no tangible compensation for years of dedication. And then there's Mary. Often portrayed as the outsider in the family, Mary held on the longest despite being emotionally abandoned by Kody. She clung to the marriage out of spiritual obligation and a belief in the family ideal. But while she waited in vain for affection and reconnect Ion, the financial ground beneath her was shifting. When the family decided to relocate from Las Vegas to Flagstaff, she had to sell her home as well. And while she operated her bed and breakfast business separately, she too contributed to the family pot, especially in the early days of Coyote Pass acquisition. Yet, when Mary finally decided to walk away from the marriage after years of neglect, she discovered that the Coyote Pass payout was not going to reflect her contributions. She hadn't been prioritized in the land redistribution. She hadn't received clear communication about the new ownership divisions. And worse still, Kody's actions had indicated favoritism, allocating more land and control to Robyn and himself while leaving Mary with vague promises and emotional gaslighting. Sources close to the family and former business partners have revealed that Kody orchestrated the final redistribution of the Coyote Pass property in a way that favored Robyn. Though the land was originally meant to be split among the 4 wives and Kody, the revised deed shows a dramatically different picture. Robyn's portion is reportedly the largest. She and Kody hold the title together on multiple parcels, while Yanel and Mary were either left out entirely or given minor stakes without real development plans. When questioned about the division on the show, Kody offered convoluted explanations. He cited logistical reasons, claimed certain wives had given up their rights, and blamed the emotional fallout of the divorces for the way things were handled. But none of those excuses addressed the core issue: why 2 women who had invested years, money, and energy into the dream were walking away with so little. It didn't help that Robyn remained silent through most of it, watching the drama unfold while staying securely in the mansion that was purchased with a large share of the family's collective resources. The truth is, the payout from Coyote Pass could have been a turning point for the family. It could have been handled with dignity, fairness, and mutual respect. Instead, it has become a symbol of everything that went wrong. Legal documents show that Mary never even officially received a separate parcel. Yanel, despite living on the land in a trailer, was never granted full ownership of the section she hoped to build on. And as the family began to splinter, Kody's promises of fairness turned into broken dreams. Insiders say that when the property was originally purchased, there were no clear contracts drawn up to secure each wife's portion. Everything was based on verbal agreements, trust, and the illusion of unity. That left the door wide open for manipulation later on. Kody, now deeply entrenched in his monogamous relationship with Robyn, used the lack of legal safeguards to push forward a new division, one that left him and Robyn firmly in control of the most valuable parts of the land. This betrayal stings deeply for Yanel. Her relationship with Kody had long been based on shared vision and mutual respect. She wasn't necessarily in the marriage for romance, she was there for the partnership, for building a legacy. But that legacy has been undermined. She has spoken candidly in recent interviews and specials about feeling disrespected and blindsided by how the land situation was handled. She had hoped for at least a small home to retire in, something to show for decades of loyalty. What she got instead was an RV, legal ambiguity, and a broken promise. As for Mary, her silence speaks volumes. She's been distancing herself from the family drama, focusing on her business and personal growth. But even those close to her acknowledge the pain she feels about being sidelined in the final land split. For a woman who spent decades supporting the Brown family structure, even through betrayal, isolation, and heartbreak, being left out of the final payout is a bitter conclusion. The deeper issue here isn't just the redistribution of land. It's the pattern. The favoritism, the lack of transparency, the quiet financial engineering that always seemed to benefit Robyn and Kody most. Longtime fans of Sister Wives have noticed this pattern, calling out how Robyn's needs always seemed to come first, from the purchase of the mansion to how the holidays were planned to who Kody spent the most time with. The Coyote Pass mismanagement is just the latest and most damning example of that favoritism in action. What makes this saga even more painful is that it could have been avoided. Had Kody chosen to draft legal documents at the time of purchase, to treat his wives as equal stakeholders rather than emotional dependents, the payout could have been clean and fair. Had he communicated honestly about his intentions when the marriages dissolved, he might have preserved dignity and goodwill. Instead, the situation has escalated into bitterness, legal confusion, and public embarrassment. Kody has attempted to justify his actions by insisting that the family's plural dynamic fell apart unexpectedly and that he's merely trying to rebuild stability. But critics argue that he's rewriting history. The family began to fracture long before Christine left, long before the Flagstaff move. The cracks were visible even in Las Vegas. And many of those cracks were formed by Kody's own inconsistencies, his shifting affections, his controlling behavior, and his financial favoritism. Even Robyn's role in the fallout can't be ignored. While she may not have personally dictated the land decisions, she benefited from them more than anyone. Her silence and refusal to advocate for the other wives speak volumes. She has the mansion. She has Kody's legal marriage. And now she has the lion's share of Coyote Pass, something that was supposed to be a communal dream. The mismanagement of the Coyote Pass payout is more than a financial scandal. It's a story about broken promises, financial injustice, and the deep wounds left behind when trust is betrayed in both marriage and business. It is the final confirmation that Kody Brown's vision of plural unity was perhaps never as balanced or fair as he claimed. And in the end, it's Yanel and Mary, two of the most loyal and grounded women in the family, who were left with nothing but memories, dashed dreams, and the hard-earned lesson that trust without accountability is a dangerous gamble. As Sister Wives continues its next chapter, the audience may finally have clarity on why the family fell apart. It wasn't just about romance, jealousy, or parenting differences. It was about control, manipulation, and a deeply flawed financial structure that allowed one man to build a kingdom, only to watch it crumble as the queens walked away empty-handed and disillusioned. And while Christine begins her new life with a loving partner and Yanel and Mary redefine themselves on their own terms, viewers are left to wonder, was Coyote Pass ever really about family? Or was it always just Kody Brown's failed monument to control?